So coming from the Wall Street Journal, SpaceX stock tumbles 10% for today. So this is June 22nd. More damning, it has actually dropped 25% since it got to its highs about a week ago. So basically SpaceX stock went up really high, and now it seems like it's coming possibly back down to earth. SpaceX shares are on course for their biggest one-day decline since they went public earlier this month. So again, earlier this month is slightly less than a week and a half ago, and they're going on their biggest one-day decline. So overall, again, down 25%. They are down for the third session in a row and more than 15%. Their record close of 201.80. So 201.80 was their highest close. So that's when the stock market closed. But their highest high was actually above $220 a share. Just today, SpaceX has shed about $225 billion in market capitalization. So when we're talking about numbers here, this is where I talk about how ridiculous these numbers are. SpaceX has lost $225 billion in value just in today. Its shares are still about 23% above their IPO price of $135 a share. If we go over, we take a look at the live stock ticker, we can see they're now at $65.38 a share. So down even more than 10%, actually 10.61% for the day. Oh, now it's 10.07. Again, it keeps going up and down. And as I say, if we go out, we push this to the 5-day mark, we can see the run up where it went up. And the stock has been coming down, and we will figure out where it goes. I think this is always one of those interesting things when people out there say, don't bet against Elon Musk. Anybody who bets against Elon Musk loses. It's like, well, depending on when they get out, right? Tesla goes up, and then Tesla also goes down, and then Tesla has been bumping along for a little while. So basically, if you buy the shorts while the Tesla stock is going down, as long as you don't make the shorts too big, you actually can make a tremendous money off of shorting Tesla. That's just basically how the stock market works. And so now it looks like with SpaceX, the value of SpaceX is dropping, and it will be interesting to see where it stops. As I've talked about many times before with the valuations of anything, right? Whether you're talking about equities, whether you're talking about commodities, whether you're talking about houses or Pokemon cards, it all comes down to how much money is somebody willing to pull out of their ass, plop on the table in order to buy whatever it is that you're selling. And that's just people's view on the things. I've talked about this before, like with pet rocks. Pet rocks sound like a ridiculous idea, but they were flying off the store shelves apparently in the 1970s, right? Little plushie toys, all kinds of different things, right? There's a time period where people go and they buy them. Beanie Babies, right? Beanie Babies were a massive collectible. It was insane. And now do people care about Beanie Babies anymore? Why, right? The intrinsic value of a Beanie Baby has not changed in the past 30 years. It's just people's opinion about what a little stuffed animal should be worth, right? That is the type of thing that has changed. And so we take a look at SpaceX and we see the stock shoot up, and then we see the stock come down. It'll be interesting to see where does this actually land? Because when we talk about SpaceX, the important thing to understand is that the space launch, right? You think about SpaceX, right? Launching stuff into space. Remember, the revenue for space launches is below the revenue for OnlyFans. That is reality, right? So they have a space launch business that makes less money than OnlyFans. You have an ISP, look, Starlink ISP. You've never heard me be snarky about that. But frankly, that's kind of like a mid-tier ISP service, right? Their distribution channels are pretty good, but who knows how big that's going to be, especially as more and more competitors get online. So you've got that, and then you've got AI, which, the more you read what Elon Musk actually says, the less it makes sense. I want to do a video on his plan. Oh, and his plan is like, you're like, oh, that's the plan. There's this A14 plan. Anyways, he actually put this plan out for his orbital AI data centers. And when you think of AI data center, like, what do you think about when you think about AI data center? Do you think about like one rack of servers? Apparently, from what I've been able to gather, again, we're gonna do a video on it in the future. So I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna do my research to make sure I'm not talking out my ass. But from what I can actually figure, these data centers are going to be equivalent of one rack of computers per quote unquote data center. So think about this on planet Earth. I know an ISP around here, they just built out their own little data center. They've got like 20 racks of servers, essentially in a back room. Like really, when you look at it's a beautiful back room, don't get me wrong. They did a great job building their little back room data center. It's basically a back room. And they have 20 racks of equipment. Right? And all they have to do to build out 20 racks of equipment is make sure the electrical comes in, make sure they've got the internet service, put the stuff in there, and hey, you got 20 racks of equipment. So think about in order to get an additional rack of performance, you have to launch all that crap into space. Oh, and tell me how this makes business sense. Apparently, he got like a license for like 1 million slots in orbit because of all these AI data centers and everything else. And you're just like, oh wow. Yeah, it's an idea. Yep, that's an idea. Lordy. So that's going to be one of the interesting questions is as the stock falls, where is the dip? Where is the point where the value stops falling and they try to figure out where the normal value of this stock should be. It'll be an interesting question. Look, Tesla, I've talked about for many years, Tesla is way overvalued, right? People buy shares in Tesla not because of what they actually do, but because of Elon Musk, right? That's just the reality, right? So the curious thing is how much of this SpaceX enthusiasm is about 1 million AI data centers all containing a rack in space, and how much of the enthusiasm is Elon Musk. And then the question going into the future is, like, how much longer will that be able to last? It'll be interesting to see how all of this goes. With the sales of the stock, right, there's a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, right? They only put about 5% of the stock out on the open market, so they kept a tremendous amount of stock that they didn't sell. So there's only a limited amount that they sold to the public. As we heard, I did videos before where there were investors out there, there were experts out there that basically said you had to buy SpaceX, right? It's not about the SpaceX fundamentals. It's about if you don't buy SpaceX, you'll have to explain to people why you didn't buy SpaceX, which is, when you should be really concerned about who your advisor actually is. We saw this where they allowed 20% of the shares went directly to retail investors, right? Trying to get that retail FOMO excitement in there. We saw that with, I think it was Fidelity, right? They dropped the how much money investors had to have in their accounts in order to buy the SpaceX shares, dropped it all the way down to $2,000. You just had to have $2,000 in your account in order to buy SpaceX shares during the IPO rather than a much larger number. But once you did, you were trapped for at least 14 days. If you tried to sell during that 14-day period, they would smack you on the hand and say, bad person, don't do that anymore. And we see this trying to force into the index fund. And so that's the other interesting thing with this too, is it seems like the value of SpaceX has far more to do with the weird ass games Elon Musk has been able to play with the financial system than it does with, data centers in space. But what do I know? I'm just a geek in my basement who's seen this stuff before. Oh, I remember my buddies. I remember my buddies in that cafe in Ellicott City. And they're like, Eli, you gotta jump in on the .com, right? The .com boom. We called it the boom, right? Before it was a bubble, it was a boom. You gotta jump in. And then one buddy lost his entire retirement account. My other buddy wound up in the ghetto. And when I said a ghetto, motherfucker wound up in the Baltimore ghetto because that's the only thing he could afford. Right, I remember, with the housing boom, right before the Great Recession, gotta buy. They're not building any more land, and And I remember buying a house. And then we moved out of the house, went to sell the house. We had bought the house for $300,000. So I go to the real estate agent. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm going to take a little bit of a haircut. No, I'm going to take a little bit of a haircut, but I can accept that. He was like, yeah, we're going to put it on the market for $225 and then see what we get. I'm like, what? No, you're not saying we're going to sell it for $225. You're saying we're going to put it on the market for $225 and then see how much lower we have to go. Oh, Lord. Anyways, so I've seen a lot of these games before, so I will be curious to see how SpaceX goes boom this particular time. So what do you think about this? Again, the stock is puttering along, $165.96 a share. Again, you look at that on the 1 day, at 10%, 10.3% down for the day, and it seems to be sputtering along. How low do you think this stock will go? Put your thoughts down below. Is this the dip? Is this the dip? Is this when you're buying your hundreds of thousands of dollars of SpaceX stock? I don't know. Anyways, if you like this content, do remember it's on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. And with that, see y'all later.